Tombs are not only places where people rest, but real monuments that tell the real history and culture of those who have gone before us. Usually they have the name of the person, along with the date of their birth and death. But what if you wanted to have something much more memorable? Some people forgo the traditional tombstone for a more elaborate crypt or tomb, and some of them can be quite cute, with others a bit bizarre, shocking, and downright creepy. So, join us for today's video as we're going to look at the 15 strangest tombs in the world. Number 15. The haunting grave of Fernand Abeilot. When you see the grave statue of Fernand Abeilot depicting a man lying down and holding a decapitated head, your first thought is probably not, "Oh, that's so romantic." And you're not the only one. This monument often appears on lists like the creepiest graves on Earth. Found in the iconic Père Lachaise Cemetery, one of the most renowned burial grounds in the world, the statue still grabs attention, even among countless famous graves surrounding it. Oddly, very little is actually known about Abeilot himself. What is known is that this bizarre sculpture honors his final request, to be immortalized gazing at his wife's face for all of eternity. Though we do wonder if he also imagined the rest of her body showing up too. The inscription carved into the headstone reads, "They marveled at the beauty of the journey that brought them to the end of life." It is definitely strange, but somehow, in its own twisted way, it is beautifully unforgettable. Number 14. Josie Arlington Tomb. Josie Arlington wasn't just any woman. She was one of New Orleans' most infamous madams, and her legacy lives on in the city's Metairie Cemetery. At first glance, her marble tomb seems elegant, almost romantic. But after her death in 1914, things got strange. Locals began whispering about an eerie red glow flickering from inside the mausoleum, as if the walls were lit from within. Some blamed it on guilt from beyond the grave, while others insisted it was just streetlights bouncing off the polished granite. Then came the legends. One ghost tale claimed that the bronze statue guarding the tomb would mysteriously vanish any time a girl with flowers wandered nearby. Eventually, Josie's body was moved to a different plot, but the original tomb stayed exactly where it was. And so did the myths. Even today, the site draws visitors curious about its haunted reputation. Whether it's truth or folklore, Josie's tomb refuses to be forgotten. Number 13. Vivian May Allison. Not every unusual tomb was built out of fear. Some came straight from heartbreak. When 5-year-old Vivian May Allison died in 1899, her parents honored her memory with the childhood she never got to finish. In Indiana's Connorsville City Cemetery, she rests inside a small white structure resembling a dollhouse, complete with glass windows and carefully placed toys inside. You'll see tiny chairs, delicate figurines, and time-worn dolls lovingly arranged just as they would have been in her bedroom. Locals call it the little house that grief built, and it's easy to see why. Over a century later, people still press their faces against the windows, peering inside to glimpse the toys and the frozen sorrow they represent. It's part memorial, part museum, and all heartache. Vivian's tomb may look quaint, even sweet, but once you realize what it truly holds, the innocence becomes haunting. This wasn't just a grave, it was her only room. Number 12. Dr. Timothy Clark Smith Tomb. This 19th century physician had one overwhelming fear, and it was being buried alive. So when it came time to plan his own grave, Dr. Timothy Clark Smith went full paranoia mode. He installed a breathing tube, tied a bell to his hand, and even had a 14-inch glass panel built directly above his face, all to give anyone passing by a chance to confirm he hadn't been accidentally interred alive. And of course, in the most poetic twist imaginable, he died on Halloween in 1893. They say everything went smoothly, and his body showed no signs of distress. Still, over a century later, the grave remains a creepy curiosity in Vermont. Visitors can spot the tiny, fogged-up viewing window above his resting place, though you won't actually see his face anymore. But at least you'll know where to look. not everyone gets that peace of mind. As for Smith, well, he made sure that even in death, he had a fighting chance, just in case. Number 11, Colonel Henry Wooldridge. In Maplewood Cemetery, there's a site unlike any other, the Wooldridge Monuments. It's an eerie assembly of 18 life-sized stone figures, often referred to as the silent procession that never moves. Built in the 1890s by Colonel Henry G. Wooldridge, the bizarre tribute includes carved likenesses of his mom, siblings, nieces, dogs, a deer, a horse, and two versions of the colonel himself, one standing proudly in a frock coat, the other riding horseback. Oddly enough, there's no statue of his father, which may or may not hint at some unresolved family tension. Still, the strangest part is that Wooldridge is the only person buried beneath the monument. The rest are merely sculpted memories, lifeless stone companions arranged in eternal stillness. Locals have speculated for decades about its meaning, but no one really knows what drove him to build it. Number 10. The tomb of Florence Irene Ford. Florence Irene Ford died of yellow fever in 1871 at only 10 years old. During her short life, she had a deep fear of storms, always running to her mom for comfort whenever thunder rolled. After her passing, her grieving mother requested something unusual, a glass viewing panel at her daughter's head. Odd, but not entirely unheard of. But she didn't stop there. She also had a narrow stairwell, nearly 2 meters deep, constructed beside the coffin, giving her direct access to sit by Florence even after death. To top it off, she installed a metal trap door to shield herself from wind and rain while sitting below ground, reading or singing softly to her child until the storm passed. The grave can still be visited in Natchez City Cemetery, located in Adams County, Mississippi. While other graves may fade into history, this one remains unforgettable. Number 9. The grave of a Scrabble fanatic. When programmer and Scrabble enthusiast Paul G. Lynn died at just 31, his loved ones knew how to honor his memory, with a gravestone as unique as he was. Crafted from colorful mosaic tiles, his headstone mimics a full Scrabble board full of tribute words and thoughtful phrases that reflect his life. From what's been shared online, it seems this creative tribute came together thanks to Paul's family, friends, and fiancée. Sadly, vandals eventually damaged the monument, stealing many of the tiles. But the community rallied again, organizing a Scrabble tournament to raise funds for restoration. In 2018, the headstone was repaired using permanent bronze tiles to ensure it would stand the test of time. Today, it remains one of the most distinctive 21st century memorials, a perfect blend of personal love, shared memory, and clever design. Paul may be gone, but thanks to this one-of-a-kind grave, his legacy continues to spell out something good. Number 8. The Tomb of Mary Ellis. Mary Ellis arrived in New Brunswick in the 1790s to live with her younger sister, Margaret. There, she fell in love with a sea captain. Some say he'd once fought in the Revolutionary War. They made plans for the future, but before long, duty called. He sailed down the Raritan River, promising to return, leaving Mary his horse as a token. But he never came back. Every day, Mary rode to the river's edge, waiting to welcome him home. Years passed, and by 1813, she was still hoping. She eventually purchased land near the river and stayed. In 1828, Mary died, and her family buried her nearby. In the 1960s, developers cleared the land for construction, but left Mary's tombstone standing, isolated. Today, her lonely grave sits in the middle of a New Jersey parking lot. The buildings around it may have changed, but Mary's quiet vigil remains. Number 7. Jane, my wife. Tomb. Brooklyn's Greenwood Cemetery is packed with grand monuments, but few hit as hard as the tomb of Jane Griffith. On its surface, the sculpture shows a woman on the front steps of a brownstone, gazing down at a man standing on the sidewalk below. But once you learn the story behind it, the carving cuts much deeper. The woman is Jane. The man is her husband, Charles Griffith. It's a snapshot of the last moment they shared. One morning, Charles said goodbye on those steps and headed to work. When he came home that evening, Jane was gone, with sudden heart failure. Devastated beyond words, Charles commissioned a master sculptor to recreate that final scene in vivid three-dimensional relief on her tomb. He visited her grave regularly for the next 25 years until he passed and was buried beside her. It's not just a grave. It's a love story chiseled in stone, one final goodbye frozen in time forever. It's pure love. Number 6. The Bean Tombstone Puzzle. For over a century, curious visitors stared at the unusual epitaph on the shared gravestone of Henrietta and Susanna Bean, trying to decode its secret. They traced the letters, puzzled over the layout, and left just as confused. What was known? In 1867, Dr. Samuel Bean secretly commissioned this bizarre puzzle tombstone after both his wives died just a few years apart. He buried them side by side, but before revealing the code's meaning, Bean tragically drowned in a sailing accident. The puzzle sat unsolved until the 1970s, when a 94-year-old woman in a nearby care home finally cracked it. Starting at the 7th letter on the 7th row and reading in spirals and diagonals, it reveals a touching tribute. Both women's names, dates of death, and the line, "Two better wives one man never had." Whatever drove Dr. Bean to create such a cryptic message remains unknown, but the mystery, at least, has finally been unraveled. Number 5. The Tomb of Cyrus the Great. Pasargadae was established by Cyrus the Great, ruler of Persia from 559 to 530 BC. The site, stretching nearly 2 by 3 kilometers, featured numerous grand structures, including Cyrus's own tomb. According to Strabo, the palace was built on the exact spot where Cyrus defeated the Median king, Astyages, in 550 BC. His tomb, completed around the summer of 530 BC, rises over 13 meters tall and spans roughly 11 meters wide. It features 2 distinct sections, a base and an upper chamber. The top includes a square burial room and a smaller attic-like space. Above the entrance sits a mysterious sun-like disc, 50 centimeters across, its purpose still unknown. When buried, Cyrus's chamber contained a gold sarcophagus, his weapons, jewels, and a cloak. Though time has worn away much of its former grandeur, the tomb remains a striking testament to ancient design and a bold reminder of a king who helped shape an empire. Number 4. William Mackenzie. In Liverpool's necropolis, William Mackenzie's grave doesn't blend in. It stands beneath a 15-foot sandstone pyramid that looks wildly out of place in a Victorian cemetery. But it's the legend behind it that really catches attention. Mackenzie was known to be an avid gambler, and according to local folklore, he wagered more than his fortune. He lost his soul in a card game. To escape the devil's claim, he allegedly requested that he not be buried underground. The story goes that his body was seated upright inside the pyramid, at a table, holding a royal flush in his cold, dead hand. Now, whether that tale is true is debatable. Church records say he was buried like everyone else, and the pyramid came later. Still, the myth persists. People still visit, intrigued by the idea that one man might have tried to outsmart the devil himself, with nothing but a winning hand and a tomb shaped like a bet. Number 3. Sandra West. Sandra West had zero interest in a quiet send-off. When the glamorous socialite died in 1977 at just 37, her will included a very precise demand. She wanted to be buried inside her powder blue 1964 Ferrari, dressed in her lace nightgown. And that's exactly what happened. In a highly publicized affair, the car was transported to San Antonio, with Sandra posing gracefully behind the wheel. The vehicle and its passenger were then encased inside a big wooden and concrete box. A crane lowered the entire setup into a 9-foot-deep grave, followed by layers of concrete to prevent grave robbing. Today, the burial site appears ordinary, just a simple headstone in a grassy patch. But beneath that modest surface lies a vintage Ferrari and its real owner, parked together for eternity. It's understated from above, But there's nothing typical about Sandra West's final destination. She drove into the afterlife exactly the way she wanted: stylish, defiant, and unforgettable. Number 2. Matthew Stanford Robinson Memorial. The unwavering love of two parents led to the creation of this unforgettable memorial. Crafted from bronze, the sculpture shows a young boy breaking free from his wheelchair and rising heavenward, his eyes turned toward the sky, arm extended as if finally unchained. It honors Matthew Stanford Robinson, a boy with cerebral palsy who spent his entire life bound to a chair. After he passed in 1999, his parents wanted a tribute that reminded them, and others, that Matthew's spirit was now free from the limits he endured on Earth. So his dad asked a sculptor cousin to help bring that vision to life. The Robinsons went further and launched a nonprofit called Ability Found, helping people get free or affordable wheelchairs and mobility gear. The charity helps raise money both through donations and by selling miniature replicas of Matthew's grave statue. Number 1. The Mort Safe. Zombie Cage. Graves. Some graves rely on creative flair, while others, pure steel. Scattered throughout historic British cemeteries, especially in Scotland, you'll spot rusted iron bars wrapped tightly over certain burial sites. These ominous structures are called Mort Safes, and at first glance, they look like zombie traps. Legends claim they were designed to stop the dead from clawing their way out. But the actual reason? Much less spooky, though just as grim. In the 18th and 19th centuries, body snatching was big business. Medical schools needed fresh corpses for anatomy lessons, and grave robbers, called resurrectionists, were more than willing to dig them up. To protect their deceased loved ones, families installed these heavy cages, along with locked stone vaults, to keep the robbers out until decomposition made the body worthless. Brutal, but effective. So while the Mort Safes weren't fighting the undead, they were fighting the unscrupulous living. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.